division. Cement today is available in plenty. Even more so then, even more so today also. There is an overcapacity in cement. Said, why? Why are we really blocking money? And what did they do? Right, respected senior, right, absolutely. What did they do? Perfect, right? We always, when we start talking, I find that most of the solutions come from clients. It's only that you have to make them aware of what is to be done. What did they do? Thank you. Larsen & Toubro demerged their cement division. Demerger, Sanjay sir, I hope I'm simplifying it for you. Demerger, as Mr. Vishwanath would tell you, is taking your division and floating it into a separate company. Demerger is you take a part of your unit and float it as a separate company. The cement division was demerged. The cement division was demerged. Floated, they subsequently, thank you, you said that some time back, they sold it to the Aditya Birla Group. The money that Larsen & Toubro got in was again put back into their core competency, which was, and the word is core competency. Moment they realized that, okay, this is one activity we would rather not be in because today we'll get cement from the market, sold, demerged it, sold it, got the money, put it back into their core competency and let Larsen & Toubro be as strong as what they are today in infrastructure and engineering. Humble request to all of you all who are looking at financial statements, let's go beyond debit credit. Please identify when you sit with the top, you are the top management for me today. When you sit down, please identify through your profit and loss statement, through the segmental reporting, what is your core competency. And you can actually take a call depending on the business market that is happening around you. The fact is, it could either be something that you are doing well today or something that you want your unit to go to. First statement is consolidated profit and loss statement. I'm going to put you through a small credit analysis a bit later. Let's look at the second statement. Let's look at the second statement. Very simple, very simple question, just to introduce the second statement, which is where actually valuation begins with the second statement. Prasanna sir, I'll give you a very simple transaction. I am picking up material, sir, from Vishwanath sir at 100 rupees. And I am selling it to Mr. Hitendra. I am processing it. 10 rupees is my processing. And I am selling it to Mr. Hitendra at 130. So 100 rupees, 10 rupees processing. I am selling it to the dear colleague there at 130. Prasanna sir, is this right? A very simple question for somebody as senior as you. Am I profitable?
Yeah, it's profitable.
Right?
Profitable.
By 20. Thank you, senior. But I want to continue with you only because you will be spot on, like the young friend here. The twist in the tail is, Sanjay sir, just watch this discussion, right? I'm focusing towards you because, but thank you, you're really picking up fast. The twist in the tail is, Mr. Vishwanath says, okay, Mr. Menon, you can buy material from me at 100, but I want money now. You pay me and take the material. At the same time, Mr. Hitendra on the other side says, I'll pay you 130, but I'll pay you 130 after 3 months. After 3 months. So the transaction is 110 sold at 130, 20 rupees profitability. Respected colleague has already said that. Now the twist here is, I have to pay 100 rupees upfront, and I am going to receive this 130 after 3 months. Prasanna sir, I want you to close it out. Which business dimension, what could go wrong with my unit here, sir?
You need to invest it till you get at least money for one more cycle. You have to invest money on it. Like for the first month they're giving 100, you're spending 10 on services, 110. Second month again you still haven't got the profit. Again you need to put another 110. Third month again you need to put another 10. By just continue with the cycle till you got your money. The third month, then you can reinvest it back into the business to buy again another material. So you need to have money for that many months.
Perfectly.
That's where the
right.
cash flow.
Sir, in one line, thank you. You really explained it well. Thank you for using the term working capital. And the second dimension of business is liquidity. Right? So I explained this so very well. I am going to be profitable here, but I am now stuck. Why I am going to be stuck? Because I do not have liquid cash, I do not have working capital, I need to put my own money into business and keep rotating. What a lovely way of explaining. Please understand, the second statement in finance is, which is known as, thank you for that also, sir, I would like to acknowledge that, is the cash flow statement. I'm sure Mr. Saraf will second me on this, but I can tell you one thing, my experience, sir, right? Times are extremely bad in India today. It's going to get worse with the credit policy coming in. Interest rates are really going to keep going up, right? And we are going to have some problems. And this is the time where I think what business possibly, right, respected colleague used the word SME, what my family managed business, right, I think the one which I interact with at SP Jain, I keep telling them that you need to keep watching out for liquidity. My experience tells me in SBI Caps, when I started, right, 91, I realized I started with, right, distressed asset sets, because I was very clear that that's how I could contribute to society, by turning around units. So I joined their distressed asset cell. I was in charge of the OTC division when I quit. Please understand, sir, 80% of sickness, 80% of sickness in the SME sector is not because of profitability, is simply because of liquidity. Thank you, sir, for nodding. Thank you very much for nodding. It can only come from practice. The guy is a brilliant technocrat. The guy is a brilliant strategist. And then what happens? Right? He is stuck for cash. He cannot rotate cash. And this is where I need to tell you, in such bad times, it is colleagues like you all who have to really be watchful. Why it is watchful? Because today you have the European crisis coming in. I heard distinctly a respected colleague saying, I do not like to take names, we are into exports. Please be very clear. My humble experience, right, I have been traveling now, tells me that there is a very big crisis expected from the European region today. And that crisis could lead to a lot of our guys getting delayed payments. And that's exactly where moment payments are delayed. What do? A typical response from a corporate is, we tend to borrow. And then what happens is, when you start borrowing, there's an interest built-up cost. And ultimately, and I'm not talking of any one of you all, God bless you all, ultimately what happens is, he's not able to manage that interest outflow. It becomes a classic case of a distressed asset. And today with bankers, what they are, right, very simple, sir. Today for a banker, look at the pressure. State Bank of India has been downgraded. State Bank of India has been downgraded. Why has it been downgraded? One reason is because capital infusion. Second reason is non-performing assets. And today's conditions, a banker will be quick to come in and say, excuse me, this is a unit which is really floundering. Now I think I need to get my money out. Cash is king. Our valuation today is going to be based only on cash flow statement. When you go back and do your valuation exercises, right, please note, right, and whatever model that you use, my humble request to you all is, please focus on what is known as DCF. I like to get introduced to sir also a bit later. I have just started. Discounted cash flow. Please note, whatever the models that we use, at the end of it, Mr. Vishwanath, I would come back, right? Mr. Ganesh, I would come back and talk to you all about relative valuation. And especially, right, and to Mr. Saraf, I would like to tell sir that intangible valuation in India. See, when I'm doing this long course at any other institute, let's say if it's a more of an academic exercise, what we do typically is for intangibles, brands, right, academic exercise. So when I'm at, let's say, a Singapore or a Dubai, what do is I do what is known as options valuation. India, it's very clear, India is still not gone into options valuation. If you start talking of option valuation, I can tell you of 2 or 3 investment bankers who will possibly look at it. India is still DCF, discounted cash flow. My humble request is, whatever, I will take you all through it, whatever be your brand, you may say I will have a goodwill, it has to be converted into a cash flow. Thank you for nodding. You may say, oh, this is a beautiful thing. 2 very simple principles. Whatever, oh, I have my own company, great. And I'm concerned about that colleague also, right? Please understand, so you are going to value a company. Remember that moment you say, oh, I have this goodwill, right? I have this brand, which is very true. I have this experience. Good. But remains on paper. Try and build it into your cash flows. Second principle of valuation, right, and this is for the colleagues. So for you, the request is, for Mr. Saraf, the request is, do not talk in terms of intangibles. Please convert it into a cash flow, and I'll lead you to how to convert into a cash flow. For the other esteemed colleagues who are from the buyer's side, the second principle of finance, please look at any company from the, please look at any company from the buyer's perspective. Please look at any company from the buyer's perspective. This is extremely, extremely important that you understand that our mind frame would be, okay, it's respected senior's company, it's Mr. Prasanna's company. What can Mr. Menon do when he gets in? This you'll have to build it into your cash flow. This is a very, very critical thing. Do not look at the balance sheets which have been published. They have been done by very respected CFOs. Valuation is going beyond the financial statements. Thank you for nodding. Start with your financial statements, start building it up. The second statement is the cash flow statement, which is nothing but, which is going to include liquidity, just for my satisfaction, right? And just for my satisfaction, always a pleasure. One last comment, I want to take your question. Cash is king. Valuation starts with what is known as DCF. We will start with what is known as free cash flow. We will start with what is known as free cash flow. Before I continue, right, with free cash flow and take you to the third statement, Mr. Vishwanath has a query, but before that, can I just get introduced to sir? Yeah.
Yeah, this is Sushil Mate.
Yeah. Sir, any...
My little, I think if you just pass it on there, it will be nice.
Any expectations from the course, Sushil sir?
Well, basically to understand the company valuation.
Similarly, I think we have a couple of colleagues here. Great. Pleasure, right? Vishwanath sir.
Yeah, you were referring to, I might be jumping a gun here, but
Please.
you were referring about the Indian companies especially.
Huh.
Look for, I mean, just don't use the options method. I don't know what an options method is.
I will tell you.
But
Yeah.
just insist on this DCF,
Yeah.
is what you were saying.
Yes.
But does this case apply to companies like us? I mean, we are a $300 million company at 30 global locations, and our investor, I mean, whoever is going to fund our acquisitions, will they also insist on DCF because we are an Indian company, or will they go for an option?
You're not jumping the gun. It's a very apt question. World over, my experience tells me that option valuation is more now talked about only in academic circles. It's not become a practical idea. Even if you're doing it, please ask us, it's a pleasure sharing it. Even if you're talking about an FII in India today, he looks at DCF. Very clearly DCF. In your case, I would request you, now that I know the background of your company also, I would request you to look at one standard method used globally, which is DCF. Thank you. Any other questions, please? Before I continue, right? So we're going to come back here, post the break, and look at free cash flow. The third statement is obviously, right, with this audience, I don't need to, right, say anything. It is what is known as balance sheet. I don't need to ask you all. It's a very, very senior audience, and, right, except for Mr. Sanjay, but I'm sure even he would have definitely heard the word balance sheet. My question to Ganeshji is, because this is linked to valuation, what does a balance sheet indicate? Perfect. Absolutely perfect. A perfect, on target. A balance sheet indicates solvency. Perfect. Very soft-spoken colleague. But precisely what I wanted. 3 dimensions of business. Profitability, liquidity, solvency. What is solvency? I need to explain for some dear colleagues. Right? Whenever there's a question, please raise your hand and please come in. It's always a pleasure. Right? I would never say any question is out of context. You are here because we need to share experiences. What is solvency? Solvency, sir, is an extremely critical thing. Please understand that, I'll just rub this, right, a balance sheet is essentially, right, a balance sheet is essentially a statement of, a balance sheet typically is a statement of liabilities and assets. Mr. Sharaf would tell you, right, and I'm sure he's been really working on a lot of